You're listening to the Experiencing God Day by Day podcast, brought to you by Blackaby Ministries International.
August 14th. Can we continue in sin? Romans 6, verses 1 and 2. What should we say then? Should we continue in sin so that grace may multiply? Absolutely not. How can we who died to sin still live in it? A Christian has died to sin. Sin has no control over a corpse. Temptation can present itself enticingly and persistently, yet a corpse will not succumb. Before you were a Christian, you were keenly susceptible to sin. Sin held you in its grip. When you became a Christian, your old self died. Galatians 2, verse 20. Sin now has no more control over you than temptation has over a corpse. You have died to sin. You can still sin, but you are no longer in sin's power. If you choose to succumb to temptation, you are rejecting the freedom from sin that Christ gained for you by his death. God's grace is a further motivation for us to resist sin. It was God's grace that enabled Jesus to endure mocking, beating, and crucifixion at the hands of those whom he had come to save. It was grace that led God to forgive our sin, despite our rebellion against him. It is this same grace that God expresses toward us each time we sin against him. Knowing this grace, we cannot continue to practice sin. Romans 6, verses 1 and 2. We cannot presume upon God's forgiveness by committing further offenses. You are no longer the helpless victim of your sin. The victory has already been won. God does not have to win a victory over your sin. He already has. You need only to apply his victory to each area of your life. If there is a sinful habit, an ungodly attitude, or an unrighteous relationship that you need to put to death, claim the victory of Christ's resurrection today. Then you will be free to experience the abundant life that God intends for you.
This podcast is based on the book Experiencing God Day by Day by Henry and Richard Blackaby, published by B&H Publishing Group, music by Mark Brown.